Things that have worked for you in your business have worked because of one principle, one thing that you've done, and it probably had something to do with an action you've taken, probably had something to do with your mindset. But today we're going to talk about the actual principle behind it that you may or may not have been aware of. So it's very important that each of you who is looking to make more money this year or looking to do less work while making more money puts the volume up, turns it up, because my favorite part is about to come. Welcome back, alchemists. This is the 52 Weeks to Wealth. We've been on this wealth journey now for 7 weeks. We're finally at wealth principle number 7, which is who has your money. This principle came to me from Uncle G, Grant Cardone. He wrote an amazing series of books. If you haven't read the book, if you're not first, you're last. Well, that could explain why you're not in first position. So, fans, you're still committed to doubling your income, doubling your net worth this year. It's a little more money, right? Just a little more. Just a little more. And the reason we do that, the reason we focus on increasing income is because it gives you a better quality of life. It gives you more time off, financial freedom, legacy, wealth. And if you are in a job that you don't like, the ability to quit your job and finally do something that you do enjoy, like Patrick Tobiasen loves selling insurance to people. So the reason we do this is really just to live a better life. True or true? So we're here, we're educating ourselves. It's Saturday. It's a Saturday before Christmas. Everybody else is out there shopping. They're buying things. They're spending their money in a consumer mentality. Well, we're here investing into our brains and diving into these concepts that other people would actually call us pretty greedy for. Show of hands, have you been called greedy or money focused in the past? Excellent. Has anybody made fun of you for your obsession with money? Awesome. Excellent. So you're not alone. My entire career has been like that. As I went and I learned more and I focused on who had my money, on who could be somebody who'd invest in me or pay me money for a service that I did, I was told often that, well, you're only talking to that person because they have money. That's true. That is actually, yes, true. The only reason I am talking to that person is because they have money. And my friends and my family would tell me, well, that makes you pretty shallow. That makes you pretty greedy, or that makes you like a pretty bad person. That's manipulative. Show of hands if you can perceive why that would be said, why somebody might think that about a person. Yeah, absolutely. I agree. It is a little shallow if that was the only reason I stayed in touch with them. Right. The reason I reach out is because they have money. The reason I stay in touch is because they have a problem that mutually I like to solve. And the reason we stay in touch after the problem is solved is because I genuinely fell in love with the person. I actually fell in love with the client. Show faith if you understand you have to be known, liked, and trusted in order to make any kind of money in this world. Excellent. So something called the law of reciprocity exists in this space. If somebody knows you and likes you and trusts you, it's probably because you also know, like, and trust them. Law of reciprocity. If you like somebody, they'll like you back. If you trust somebody, they'll trust you back. And if you know somebody, well, I mean, the odds are, well, that isn't always true, is it? Who here knows somebody that doesn't know them? You all do. If you've never met Elon Musk, then we all know somebody who doesn't know us. So in this world, that saying of it's all in who you know is not true. It's all in who knows you and what they know you for. So it's not important who you know. It's more important who knows you and what they know you for. So we will be talking about that today in this wealth principle. This journey is about building millionaires. All of our leaders have committed to building 100 millionaires. Show of hands if you lead an Alchemist Nation group or a sponsor of one. Excellent. Spoken on stage at one of our events. Awesome. So you're a leader who's committed to building 100 millionaires who are inspired to build 100 millionaires. This mission is about giving. This mission is about contributing and going and paying it forward, especially for the people who've already made it. That being said, let's dive straight into this one very particularly interesting wealth principle that most people will judge you for ever saying out loud. So, show of hands if you commit to doing all deals morally, ethically, and legally, and you're okay with people judging you. All right, so let's dive into this. Um, the challenge for not having enough money doesn't start from not knowing enough people. It actually comes from a place of hanging out with people who have the same amount of money as you. So most of us come into this world with no money. We have no understanding of money. And then a lot of our parents never taught us money. If they did teach us something, they said, you never have enough, easy come, easy go. You got to have money to make money. Those who if you want something really nice in life, it's going to cost a lot of money, and we don't have that money. So we don't have enough. I don't have it for right now. And what am I made out of money? Show of hands if your parents gave you some really good training. There's really good core principles around money that later on you discovered weren't necessarily all true. They could be perceived as true, but when you believe in them, they become harder and harder to break free from. So today I want to replace some of those original thoughts with money's pretty much everywhere. In fact, they just printed $3 trillion over the last 4 years. So there's a lot more dollars in the space than there ever was. And when we don't believe that people have money, we find that nobody does have money. Show of hands if you've ever felt that before. Like nobody around me has any money. Yeah. Move. Change where you're at. If you're noticing you're in a room where nobody around you has money, you can shift. You're not a tree. You can leaf. And that they don't get better than that. So here's because money does grow on trees, doesn't it? We've noticed that this paper, right? This paper is all just something that was pressed off of leaves. So there's a couple of things that we've been lied to, some lies. One, it doesn't grow on trees, and you can move. You can shift and adjust. And it's also okay to shift and adjust to people who have more money. Who here's heard you are the average of your five closest friends? Average of five closest friends. Excellent. So we've seen videos, we've seen people do the math. If your friends are making $100,000 a year, your five closest friends are making $100,000 a year, there's a good chance that you'll make $100,000 a year. And if you are making less than $100,000 a year and your friends are making more, you may actually be the cause of their income coming down. So be cautious with that as well. The other side to it is if your friends are making $5 million a year or their net worth is $5 million, there's a very good chance that your five closest friends that you have gotten to the level where you're now hanging out with people because you have $5 million in net worth or $5 million of income. Show of hands if you've seen that to be true. They seem to hang with each other, right? And you can hang with them as well. What happens first is a change, a shift in our mindset. When we believe that we're on a trajectory to gain a certain level of wealth, we start acting a little bit differently. We start doing things a little bit differently. We start hanging out in different types of places. For example, when I started buying real estate, I started spending more time in real estate offices, mortgage brokers' offices. I spent more time in insurance companies' offices. I spent more time in properties that were for sale by realtors. So I was spending more time buying real estate in a space where other people already owned a bunch of real estate. Show of hands if you can imagine how that might work. Is you start getting into being a person of high net worth, you start doing what people of high net worth do. And I started going to these auctions. And at one of these auctions, I met a woman who was a multi-millionaire. First rich woman that I knew. She was like not married. She'd made all the wealth herself and she was worth multiple millions, multiple tens of millions. And I was at an auction and she bought 5 houses all on the same street. I wanted to buy 2 of them. I had 2 of them under agreement before they went to auction. I was so close to buying these properties, and then the person who was going to sell it to me wasn't paying any of their mortgages, and they didn't go to short sale. They just lost everything. And then this woman came in and she picked everything up the month later. I thought I was going to go to auction, maybe buy just 1 or 2 of the properties I had. Show of hands if you can grasp. I was hungry, but I was also delusional. I didn't realize that you need to have cash to close. This woman was able to buy 5 buildings in cash. And so I went over to her because this is what happens when you start thinking at this level. I went over to her and I said, "Hey, I'd like to buy 2 of the buildings that you bought today. Would it be okay?" And she said, "Sure. Let's have a conversation. Let's sit down and let's talk about it." And what I ended up doing was paying the price for 2 buildings that she paid for all 5 buildings. And I closed on the first one with an FHA loan. I closed on the second one with a regular investment loan. And this woman now owned 3 buildings free and clear. And so at the closing table, I asked her a very important question. I asked her, I said, "What is the secret to being wealthy?" Because the first closing table, I didn't ask shit. I was stupid. I was ignorant. I just was like shaking, like afraid that I was buying a 3 family. And the second closing table, because I closed for her a second time, I asked her this. I said, "What is the secret to building wealth? What is the secret? What advice would you give somebody like me?" I was 25 or 26 at the time. I just like, what would you give a 26-year-old, guy who's just looking to build wealth and go? And she said the most powerful words that I've ever heard to this day in real estate investing. And you may want to write these down if you're a real estate investor and you're looking to scale up. She said, "Buy whatever you can, wherever you can." And at first, I didn't know what that meant. I said, what do you mean?" She said, "Buy whatever you can, wherever you can. If an opportunity comes up and you can find a way to buy it, then buy it. And if you can get yourself in front of enough opportunities and you can find enough ways to buy things, then you just keep buying whatever you can, wherever you can." She didn't say you needed money. She said, my husband was a venture capitalist for Harley Davidson. He never had money, but he knew how to find money. He knew how to bring money into deals. He would build these big syndicates and he would bring money into start Harley Davidsons, and we made millions and millions of dollars that way. Now we put everything into real estate because she said it's a lot easier to manage because my husband is no longer with us. So we got rid of the hard, difficult things and we shifted into real estate, which was a lot easier for me to manage. And she passively invests. She found partners that she passively invests in. She just happens to go to the closing table because she's the one with all the money. Show fans if this makes sense. Awesome. So this principle, who has your money, it comes from a place of acknowledging that if we're not spending time with people who have money, then there's a change that must be made. There are 5 types of money, in my opinion, as a real estate investor, and there are lots of different types of money. If you go as an entrepreneur, there's all sorts of people who have your money. But for me as a real estate investor, there's 5. I'm going to go through the top 5 for multifamily investors. Show of hands, it's okay if I focus on multifamily investing today? Excellent. First one is the general partner or the primary investor. If there is no general partnership, if you're buying everything by yourself, this is you. You are the general partner. You're the buyer, the investor. If you needed to raise capital, then you're the primary investor. This is the general partner, or known as a sponsor. The GP or the sponsor, this is the person who makes all the decisions. They're raising the capital, they're finding the deal, they're locking things down, they're managing the property, the asset, the cash flow. If you're buying or own 100 units, this is you, right? If you're the one who's managing everything, you're basically the CEO of the company. Show of hands if you understand what a CEO is. Corporate executive officer, right? Chief executive officer. That is what the GP is. You're operating as the manager of the entire project. And it's your sole responsibility to make sure that this project makes money. It's buying a business. It really is. When you buy real estate, multifamily, it's buying a business, and your job is to make sure the finances are working, the management team is working, and that the tenants, the customers, the clients are satisfied and staying, and you're constantly marketing and bringing more new ones in. We were at a building this week. I drove all the way out to Mississippi with Mitch Jorsky. We did this wonderful 12 hours there, 8-hour walking of properties, no naps, 12 hours back. And we lived off of energy drinks and candy bars and beef jerky because you need protein. And we we stayed through this whole process. And the only thing that kept us awake and like focused on us is we are the stop or the start of this project. The project begins or it dies with us. And so it was very important for us to be out there. It was 120 units we toured, 80 in one area, 48 in another area. And as we were going through it, we have this tremendous amount of responsibility. We got to the very end of the project and we told the team that we're walking with, the property managers, the leasing agent, and we told them that this deal will work at the price that we've submitted on one of them, and the other building, we may have to make some adjustments. And now we need a very good story to go and tell our investors. Because as the GPs in this deal, we have to be able to explain why this ridiculously crazy property is somehow going to turn into cash flow. Show of hands if you understand how much responsibility there is on the GP. That's you. You're the CEO if that's your position. Second is the LP. And the question is, who has your money? If you're a GP, you have your money. It's your money. You're investing with your capital, or maybe somebody else's. So the second person involved in a real estate deal, multifamily, is the LP. This could be the bank, or it could be limited partners in form of passive investments. It's the people whose money you're bringing into the deal who actually don't have any kind of responsibility, but they have some sort of liability around it. And a limited partner could be a bank. It could be your bank just has a mortgage on you, or a limited partner could be somebody who comes in and passively invests, but doesn't have any of the responsibilities. They have your money too. If you end up going and you're not buying everything all in cash, because some GPs do buy everything in cash. I have a friend in Fall River. His name is Aaron Tatro, and the guy runs an amazing business called Fall River Pawnbrokers all over the New England area, and just prints money, just especially in times like this where people are losing money, people are cheap, and they need to go and pawn things. He makes a killing. So he's just printing cash. So he buys houses without any partners. He buys houses without the bank. So fans, if you would never buy a house without the bank or OPM? Yeah. Show of hands if you have used other people's money to buy real estate. Leveraged, right? Banks. Yeah. In this community, we teach that. You should be leveraging, you should be using banks. But he's got so much capital, he can't actually invest it fast enough. And so he doesn't like to use banks. It's a very rare instance. Show of hands if you'd like that problem. Good problem to have. Yeah. He also doesn't like partners. So he doesn't like partners. He doesn't like banks. And when you have that much cash, sometimes it doesn't really matter. So there are people out there who do not like to operate in that space. A limited partner, though, brings a ton of value. If you've ever used a bank, you understand. You couldn't buy the house without them. You'd be buying a small little, maybe a dog house without the bank, or maybe you'd be buying a little mobile home without the bank. But with the bank, you're able to buy so much more cash flow. With limited partners, you're able to buy so much more cash flow. So they have your money, and they can be found absolutely everywhere. In fact, if you're looking for how to find these people, if you're looking for how to find limited partners, or you're looking to find general partners, the Recession Proof Challenge is designed to show you who your avatar is, how to find them, and we do talk about that in Mission 1, and then every one of the 21 days in the Recession Proof Challenge. Number 3, other limited partners. These can be people who diversify. These are the people who like group up. So Vinny Chopra actually offered me this opportunity to get a whole fund together of like, let's call it 10, 20 investors. And then we took that money and invested in one of Vinny's deals. So you can have different forms of money that is gathered that isn't necessarily those direct connections like the bank or direct limited partners. Number 4, tenants, or as Vinny is telling me to call them now, residents. Residents have your money. And when you think about it, where does all the money in a rental property come from? It actually comes from the residents going out and doing some sort of work or exchange with some other entity or some other business, and then bringing the money back, and you take a piece of that for providing the service of housing. Each one of these factors, you're providing some sort of service, right? With a general partner, you are doing all the work. With an LP, or yeah, with if you are a limited partner, the GP is doing all the work. If you're an LP, if you're a GP, then LPs are bringing you capital. So they're providing service to each other. If you are a tenant, the landlord, the GP and the LP, the whole team is providing a house for you, providing safe, clean housing. That's our target, always clean and safe. How do we find tenants? This was one of the things we identified at the property we were at. They had terrible tenants. Has anybody heard tenant horror stories? Horror stories? Well, when you tour a building with 80 tenants, you get to see all the horror stories. They were all there in one concentrated section. We had burnt out buildings, like you walk in, smoke and soot everywhere, freaking awesome. We had systems stolen. We had refrigerators stolen, stoves stolen, shit on walls. We had shit on floors. We had rat poop in places. It was fantastic. The smell was fantastic. We were finding weaves and wigs. Me and Greg thought our hair was coming back. It was just it was just a terrible situation. Compressors, right? The big compressors for AC units, they cost 4 or 5,000, gone, ripped right off of the building. So as we were going through it, we were just like, damn, like it's really important, what kind of tenants you put into a building, isn't it? And then we found out there were 15 tenants not paying. That's delinquency. 15 tenants not paying. So that was not included in the rent roll that they sent us. It wasn't included in the T12 that they sent us. It was a little misleading when we went out there and we found 15 tenants not paying. It's like, well, if they're not vacant, why doesn't it say in delinquent, right? Why doesn't the rent roll say delinquent? Why doesn't the T12 say these people are not paying? So we identified 15 tenants missing, not paying, and we also identified 32 vacancies just on a 80-unit building. That's a little different from the numbers they told us. So our number we submitted was a $3 million offer. We now have to go back with a $2 million offer because of false advertising. Basically, we were misled. We were misled on what the property actually was. And so we got out there, it was significantly worse. So fans, if you will always commit to doing your due diligence, tenants are who has your money. When you're the GP, when you're working for other people, the tenants have your money. 5th person who has your money, service providers, your vendors, your contractors, your plumbers, your electricians, your property managers. These are the folks who, if they don't fix things, like that's what we found in this building, they weren't fixing anything. So now they can't fill any units. And that ends up being a place of having no money. Also, when you fix your buildings up, the value of your property goes up. And you end up with a more valuable property. You can refinance it. You can sell it. You can also leverage. Well, refinance, yeah, leverage. There's a lot of opportunity. You get passive income from things that already exist that do very well. So your vendors, your sponsors have your money. There's another person secretly out there in the world who may or may not have your money, depending upon how you spend your time. And that could, like I mentioned at the beginning, it could be your community, it could be your tribe, could be your friends. Your energy is super important. If the people around you are not inspiring you to go do more, to buy things, to invest, to educate yourself, then They could be taking your money. They could be robbing you of money. If your friends are encouraging you to grow, are bringing you to events, are bringing you to education, or are teaching you things, or sharing assets with you, or investing with you, then they do have your money. And those are valuable relationships that can level you up. Dunbar's number, right? 150 people. I was asked recently, well, why do you say 150? Why do you say 150? It's because of Dunbar's number. That's the maximum amount of relationships you can have. So if you're doing any kind of business, any kind of deals, especially in real estate, and you need to raise capital, you need to remember that you can only have relationships with 150 people. So if you're looking to raise $1 million, 20 people, 50,000 a piece, that can raise $1 million. If you're looking to raise $10 million, 20 people no longer cuts it at $50,000 a piece. You now need 200 people, which breaks Dunbar's number. You're not able to build relationships with that many people. Show fans, we understand how important it is to understand the quality of the relationships we're building. But if you were looking to, let's say, a hedge fund, let's say you wanted to buy $1 billion worth of real estate. Well, you only need one hedge fund that invests with you $250 million. $250 million is a lot of hedge funds opening amount. That's the minimum investment that they'll make with something. So those relationships are leverageable. We call them large investors. Large investors will invest anywhere between 1 million to 5 million with you. So if you're looking to raise $1 million, all you need is one relationship. If you're looking to raise 5 million, sometimes all you need is one relationship. Show fans if this makes sense. It's a lot easier to build those relationships than try to build 200 relationships with people who are going to invest only $50,000 with you. It takes a much longer time. So when we think about and look at this principle, who has my money comes up in a lot of different factors of our life. In fact, I was talking to Vinny about this this Thursday on Abundance Thursdays, and Vinny said to me, I said, Vinny, well, whose money do you have, right? Like who do you serve? Who's your client? And he said, well, it's the passive investor. That passive investor's got 1 million to 5 million. I put their money to work because Vinny is a GP, right? Vinny is a GP who makes sure that people's money gets put to work for them. And for me, I'm more of an LP, although I GP on something. I'll go back and forth, right? I do a little bit of my money and I do a little bit of other people's money. And my tenants, right, for them, their boss has their money, right? They all work hourly jobs. Some of them are in sales. Their boss has their money. So if you work a job or you're in sales, it's your client. It's somebody else who may have the ability to do a transaction with you. It's important because like you can stay where you are. You can stay broke. You can stay satisfied. Like I know a lot of you are millionaires. Actually, I'm looking around the room. There's a lot of millionaires on the call. But show of hands, millionaires, if you still feel broke sometimes, if you still feel like, yeah, I could use a little more. I could use a little more. So when I say broke, I don't mean you have no money in the bank. I just mean you've invested everything into assets and you're like, not you're here again. You can have more. You can lever up and go and get that next level, but it's only going to happen as you change your relationships. As you start looking at, for real estate investors who've raised $50,000 per person, you may start looking at that $100,000 per person. You may start looking at that $250,000 per person. I had a conversation with a woman this week, and she was just doing single family homes, and she was very proud of herself for doing a 3-family building, which is very smart. It's good to if you're doing singles, getting to that multifamily is smart. When I talked to her about her financial goal, she wanted $50 million a month in cash flow, $50,000 a month in cash flow. I said, well, on the trajectory that you're on, that could take 50 years, right? If we just doubled every year, it could take a very long time to get to that cash flow level. So there's going to have to be a jump. You're going to have to increase at some point. You're just going to have to jump up to a higher basis, a higher amount of units that you're willing to manage and cash flow with. And that kind of snapped her mind, just looking at the numbers and saying, oh my God, it would take me forever going at the route I'm doing it. And the other thing that we came up with was the government sometimes has your money, right? Who has heard of depreciation? We've all heard of taxes, right? So the government is actually taking your money. 2/3 of your money you keep. The other third goes to the government. So if you're doing flips or you're doing wholesaling or you're selling a high expensive product, every 2 times you sell it, that third one is free. Right. So if this is what I told her is if you've been working for a year, 4 months, you worked for free. You worked for Uncle Sam for 4 months. And if you're doing this for 4 years, if you've been operating the way you've been operating for 4 years, flipping, agency, wholesaling, selling high ticket coaching programs, those 4 years you worked, one of those was for Uncle Sam. Right. I'm sorry, 3 years you worked, one of those was for Uncle Sam. Every 2 years, that third year is for Uncle Sam. That's 4 months you could have taken off. And the most important part of that is that the 4 months that you could have taken off, those were the clients that you hated the most. Those are the worst clients. Those are the ones that if you didn't have to work with them, you would not have worked with them. You would have taken the month off. You would have not wasted your time with people who were just like harassing you and nickel and diming you or giving you a hard time, blowing up your phone. Mitch Jorsky tells me all the time, he's like, there's like two people in the mentorship that just blow up my phone all the time. And it's like, that's frustrating, right? If imagine, and in your business, imagine if you didn't need to work with those people, those property managers, those contractors, those plumbers, those electricians, those clients, those employees, whatever the group of body is that you make your money. If you didn't work with them and you just spent more time on a higher leverage task, you'd be happier. The reason you're working those extra third of the year, the extra 4 months every year, is because you lack depreciation. You lack enough depreciation to hide your income. And I did the formula. It's about 4%. So if your net worth, if you're not net worth, if the property value is $10 million, it ends up being somewhere between $30,000 to $40,000 a year you can hide from depreciation of income. And you have to add that the government doesn't tax you on the first $16,000 that you make. So add the 40,000 to the 16,000, it ends up being about $56,000. A $10 million portfolio hides $56,000 of your income. So you can get back to a zero income basis with depreciation on multifamily. Show of hands if nobody told you this when you were growing up, you had to find it out as an adult. Yes, it's frustrating. It's frustrating. This is why I do take 4 months off every year. I take November, December, January, February off because of the way we've set up our tax structure. Now, Ron and I did make a mistake this year, so I want to be very clear and admit to a failure. We're probably going to pay a six-figure tax bill. I thought I was getting away with it, but our cost segregation was not anywhere near enough. And so it looks like we're going to pay a six-figure tax bill this year. Show of hands if you're not crying for us, but you are sad for me because you like me. I appreciate you. Thank you. So what we're going to do, and I'll tell you now, the government is the cheapest form of money out there. They have your money, right? The government, they've been stealing your money from, taxes, and the only reason you pay taxes is because social engineering. The idea behind tax is that you took money out of the system. Anytime you pay yourself, you're taxing. You're getting taxed. You're taking money out of the system. If you don't want to pay tax, keep the money in the system. That's borrowing money or depreciating assets that you already have. So there's only two ways to not pay, or create expenses, like spend money, which means you're just keeping it in the system, right? Investments. So all of the creative tax strategies come down to those three options. You're either borrowing money, no, they can't charge you tax on borrowed money, and you're depreciating an asset. They can't charge you tax for you losing money. It's technically a loss. Or you're expending something. You're spending money on your investments, on your business. They won't tax you on expenses. So those are your three functions. The government also has your money in the sense that you can borrow from them cheaply. I've done a lot of loans from a lot of different entities, a lot of different structures, and the cheapest one that I've found is the government. So this year, Ron and I agreed when we do have this tax bill, because we will not mess up next year. Next year, we're going to make sure the depreciation's in place. We're going to acquire more real estate. We just didn't acquire fast enough, big enough to offset the $1.6 million we brought in from sales of properties this year. Let's, again, not cry for us, but give us a round of applause for doing a decent job as real estate investors. I'll take it. Thank you. What we're going to do is we're going to ask the government for a loan to make payments on. We'll probably do it over a 4-year period. So it's like $2,000 a month over 4 years. Their interest rate is 5%. Show of hands if that's very cheap money right now, especially. And so as we're doing that, what's very interesting is we have $600,000 from the money that we took in. We paid down some of our mortgages by about $800,000, and we took money about $600,000. We put it back on the street. What that means, we lent it out to real estate investors at 15% interest and 12% interest. And so our monthly passive income from our loans is $6,000 a month. Show of hands if you understand how we took money out of the system, and yet we've got the system paying for the tax bill. By delaying the tax bill over a time period, we're actually cash flowing $4,000 a month. If we paid it all up front, we would not have the cash flow from the money that's being invested into other people's businesses. Show of hands, we understand the arbitrage. Makes a lot of sense. Awesome. So that's who has your money. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of ways to do it. So we have Doug on here, and Doug every single week gives us a nice little exercise to get our minds right. And I don't see Michael Shine. So Doug, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make you a co-host, and I'm going to ask the room, who here has read If You're Not First, You're Last by Grant Cardone? Show of hands if you've ever read this book. In that case, I will present the book of the week since I seem to be the only one who's read the book. So this book this week is If You're Not First, You're Last by Grant Cardone. In this book, Grant Cardone talks about this skill set, this who has your money. And the shift that he had to make in his mindset of the being first simply means being the best known, being the best to deliver, being the best aware of who has your money. When you're aware of who has your money, you go into a room and you don't talk to everybody. You ask specifically, how do I get to the person who has the thing that I want? Which in his situation was he always wanted to sell coaching. He wanted to sell training on how to sell more stuff. So he was always looking for people who needed sales training. So we just go into the room. Who has my money? Who's looking for sales training? Who's looking for sales training? Who's looking for sales training? Show of hands if you understand. If you're not first, you're last. Right? That's the mentality that keeps a hustler growing and going. So the book I used it very intensively back in 2015. Really helped me get my mindset right to go and take more action. If you found yourself procrastinating, not doing things, not getting things done that really are important, it could be because you don't recognize that you're actually in last place right now, and you've got to stay hungry. You've got to go and push yourself to get ahead of the crowd, because the moment you do get ahead, there's 10 other people coming behind you. And for me, what I've discovered is it's no longer 10 people. It's like hundreds of people. The further I go, the more there are people trying to catch up, trying to take everything that I've built. And that's okay, because I got a bunch of you out there defending it for me. So the more you expand, the more there are other people behind you looking to get where you're going. So you must stay aggressive. You must stay ahead. You must build yourself a tribe. You must build yourself a team and help enough people so that they can make sure that you're okay in the future. Show of hands if you're okay with helping others. Hell yeah. All right. So the mindset that I want Doug to walk us through today, the action step would be to go out and buy more real estate and focus on assets that you can depreciate. This would be multifamily buildings. Do not live in the asset yourself, because if you live in it, you can't depreciate it, which means you're going to pay taxes. It means it's no longer an asset. It's actually a liability that you're paying money on. They don't let you deduct your mortgage. They only let you deduct mortgage interest, which is very, very small. They don't let you deduct your gas bill, your electric bill, your water bill. But when you rent it out, you get to deduct all of it, and you get to depreciate the building, which means you pay less on taxes. Show of hands if you understand why we don't live in our properties. We rent them out. Absolutely. And for those of you who do live in your properties, it's a fucking luxury. Just accept it. Embrace yourself. You're rich as fuck, right? Think about it that way. I'm so rich, I live in an asset, and I don't care that I'm not depreciating it or using all these different expense benefits. So let's shift to Doug McGurk, and we'll come to questions right after this, Roland.
Well, what's going on? First of all, give Walter a hand, of course. Come on, come on. And by the way, you deserve a huge round of applause for showing up on this holiday weekend. That's showing your commitment. You should be very impressed and proud of yourself. So take your right hand there. Look at it right in here, and imagine it's a mirror. Look at it and go, "You freaking rock." And then go ahead, tap yourself on the back, give yourselves a pat on the back. Good job, good job. All right. So, congratulations, everybody, for playing full out for the entire year. This will be the last session for the year, right? If I do my math correctly? No, no, it's that we got one more. All right. That one I may or may not be able to attend. I don't know where I'm going to be in the mountains. But with that being said, why don't we all go ahead and let me get some music. There we go. Can we hear the music? Very nice. Very nice. All right. So why don't you go ahead and take a nice, big, deep cleansing breath in. Roll your eyes up to the back of your head till you feel a little strain. And relax. That's right. Now take another big, deep cleansing breath in and tense up every muscle in your body. Tense it up, tense it up, tense your arms, tense your legs, tense your butt, tense your gut, tense your toes, tense everything. Squeeze your eyes, every part of your body. And relax. That's right. Now, as you find yourself even more comfortable, like the evening sun, allow your body to Relax, dipping down below the horizon, signaling a time of rest and rejuvenation. And take a deep, big cleansing breath in now. And as you exhale, imagine letting go of any lingering tension, just as the tree releases its leaves in the fall, effortlessly and naturally. And imagine yourself standing at the edge of a vast, fertile valley. And this valley, lush and green, represents the abundance that life has to offer. The same abundance that is available to you as you seek funding for your multifamily deals. As you walk into the valley, you come across a river. And this river flows with the energy of prosperity. Its waters rich with the essence of possibility. And each drop is like a resource available to you. Each ripple a potential connection, each current a path leading towards the realization of your dreams. Dip your hands into the river and feel the cool, refreshing energy of potential and opportunity. Lift the water and let it slip through your fingers, noticing how there's always more than enough. How it keeps flowing in a never-ending cycle of abundance. And as the water returns to the river, you're reminded of the affirmations that ground you. So as you connect even more to God, say these affirmations aloud or to yourself and feel the power. I am a conduit for abundance, attracting the right resources and people for my multifamily deals. I trust in the flow of abundance, knowing that the funding I seek is also seeking me. Now, as the river flows below you, it whispers affirmations and afformations to you, questions to open your mind and heart to the abundance that surrounds you. Why is it that funding opportunities are attracted to me so effortlessly? How can I easily connect with the abundance that surrounds me for the success of my ventures? Now, picture yourself following the river to where it meets the ocean. The ocean is vast and deep, just like the pool of potential investors and funding. Here, the waters of opportunity are boundless, and the tides are always bringing in new possibilities and connections. And as you stand before the ocean, you think of a story of a captain setting sail to discover new lands. The captain is skilled, knowledgeable, and above all, confident in his abilities to navigate the waters. He knows that the winds and tides are on his side, just as the forces of the market are with you. And in this story, there are some other than conscious ideas, commands that part of you is owning. Perhaps one of them is set your course with confidence, knowing the winds of fortune fill your sails. Or maybe navigate the tides of negotiation with ease, for they lead you to the shores of success. And the captain's journey is a metaphor for your own, isn't it? He finds new lands just as you find new investors. He discovers treasures just as you uncover funding. He returns home successful, just as you will close your deals triumphant and fulfilled. And as you connect even more to God right now, say these affirmations aloud or to yourself. I confidently navigate the tides of real estate investment, always finding safe harbor in success. My ventures are guided by the stars of wisdom, experience, and an abundance mindset. And let these affirmations guide your other than conscious inquiries. Imagine these questions being answered all day long. Why do I naturally align with the cycles of success and abundance in my investments? How is it that every step I take towards funding my multifamily deals leads me to prosperity? As you prepare to leave the ocean's edge, you carry with you a sense of certainty and confidence, knowing that just like the captain, your journey is blessed with the winds of abundance and the stars of guidance. Now, as you gently bring your awareness back to this room now, feeling refreshed, focused, and ready to act. And when you open your eyes, do so with the knowledge that the funding you seek is already yours, that the multifamily deals are within your grasp, and that the abundance mindset is your unwavering compass. So remember, you are the master navigator in the realm of investment, and your path is one of growth, prosperity, and success. And you are now ready to step forward with the story of the valley, the river, and the ocean as your guides towards the abundance that awaits. Come on back.
So that was good. I got a little chills on that one. That was, it's interesting. I've been working with a lot of Doug's hypnosis over the years, and one of the ones that has had the most impact is I always find good deals that I underwrite powerfully, that I always cash flow. And those affirmations have just been really, really they started off as like kind of sort of, but you even see it in my content over the years when I'm speaking on stage. I said, dude, I all I do is good deals. Every deal I do is good. Like it's just it comes out of me so effortlessly because I genuinely believe it because I've got a ton of proof, but also before I had a ton of proof, I had those thoughts, those words, those affirmations that Doug gave me. So let's give Doug a big round of applause for all the work he's been doing with the community over the last few years. always finding good deals. I always find good deals. Such a great affirmation. This week, not this week, no, it's next week. Week after January 13th, we are doing names on deeds. So I am bringing that back, backed by popular demand. You've asked for how do I find off-market properties? How do I evaluate real estate deals? How do I evaluate multifamily deals? I've been working with Vinny's calculator a lot lately. Show fans if you know Vinny Chopra, the billionaire, has a calculator. So the first time I opened it, I was scared. I was like, damn, that's a lot of tabs. There's a lot of stuff going on. But I will be talking about how to actually use it at Names on Deeds. I'll actually be walking through how this thing actually works, how to actually use it. So if you are interested in figuring that thing out, Names on Deeds, I will go through how to evaluate multifamily properties, and I'll be talking about the locations. I'll be talking very heavily on the locations where money is being made right now on multifamily versus where everybody else thinks it is. If you go online, you go into the internet and say like best market to invest in real estate, you're going to hear Miami, you're going to hear Tampa, you're going to hear Austin, you're going to hear San Diego, San Francisco, you're going to hear New York, you're going to hear Boston. I said Boston already. And here's the deal. Those are not the best markets to invest in. The Google is wrong. The internet is wrong. Those are just hot markets. Those are super hot markets. Las Vegas, they'll add as a market. F no. There's no way, right? You can't buy multifamily in those markets and make any kind of money. But there are markets that you can make a ton of money. There are markets that make a lot of sense in multifamily, for multifamily, where you can buy a bunch of units all at once. And if you've been following me, then you know a few of them, but I'm going to be revealing all of them or a large group of them. I'll show you how I find those markets. Show fans if that's valuable. Names on deeds. All right, so I keep getting asked, how do I find the link? The link is in your email. Go to your newsletter. The newsletter that was sent out last week, the newsletter was sent out this week. At the very bottom of the newsletter, it'll say, by the way, one of the wealth principles. So the newsletter is one of the wealth principles. It'll be like wealth principle 5, wealth principle 6. So the newsletter we send out every week, if you scroll all the way down, has names on deeds. The link is there. It's a free event for everybody in Alchemist Nation and your friends and your family. We're going to be showing how to invest in real estate in 2024. If you were on the 2024 event that we did in December, how to invest, we'll be bringing more of that detail into the space. So we're going to be using those strategies, which are multifamily, and we'll be talking about how to evaluate these deals, these multifamily deals, and how to find them, how to find these things off market, not on market. Show fans if you like off market better than on market. Yeah, all the agents in the room are like, no, no, off market's good, on market's good, it still works. Not really, but in certain markets, yes. So certain markets it can. In fact, we did just close on 35 units out in Decatur, Illinois, that we bought on market. We just didn't pay what they wanted. We paid the off market price. Show fans if you understand how to negotiate. Yeah, we'll review it anyway. And names on deeds, we're going to review it anyway. We're going to go through the negotiations again and talk about how we get these deals. If you're in the Recession Proof Challenge, I posted last night or the night before, I posted a negotiation that I did with a seller. I was asked to do it. I'm telling you right now, it's very boring. It's 28 minutes of just me on the phone negotiating. The first, I think, 2 or 3 minutes is me and Greg just evaluating what we already submitted as an offer and then going back and doing the negotiations. Took about 28 minutes. To me, it's whatever. It's boring. It's what I do all the time. But for the crew in the Recession Proof Challenge, I said, oh my God, please post this. So if you want to watch it, it's in the Recession Proof Challenge Facebook group. In fact, Dina was the one who said you have to post it. So let's give Dina a round of applause. It is posted. It took my phone like 35 minutes to post. So I actually left my phone at the house while I went to the gym. So that's why it took me so long to get that up for you. Let's open up to Q&A. Questions on multifamily, taxes, depreciation, who has your money, how to find successful people or contact them, which we do that in the Recession Proof Challenge. We do talk about how to find your avatar. If you're looking for employees or staff, if you're looking for salespeople, we show you how to do that in the Recession Proof Challenge. If you're looking for tenants, we show you how to do that in the Recession Proof Challenge. By the way, we found that the building we were looking at, they were finding their tenants on Craigslist. Don't do that. That's the worst place to find tenants. That's cheap tenants. That's worse tenants. There are other ways to find tenants. Go ahead, Todd. I see you unmuted the mic, brother.
Uh, so the apartment building in Mississippi, that was the one in Jackson.
Yes.
Was there any water problems? Just curious.
Fascinating. So there was a water issue, but it's not the one that's publicized all over the news. So the water issue we ran into was actually a fire hydrant that's up on a hill, and the fire hydrant is just spouting out water and has been for the last year. So what that created was this underground problem underneath our driveway and an underground problem underneath one of the storage sheds where just water is just being eroded. And so that simple problem, I went out and I just told the property manager, like, look, I don't own this thing yet, but I'd like it to still be here when I do buy it. So if you could take some sandbags and run them off into the woods, that'd be fantastic. Because there's a river behind there. Just run them to the freaking river. So instead of like letting this whole driveway get, ripped apart and eroded. So no, the water issue in Mississippi has been solved. And we went down to City Hall. We went into the Waffle House. We went into the Wawas, as you know, and we we checked things out. We talked to people. We were drinking water straight from the tap. I feel fine. Well, I feel fine from the water I drank. I still feel a little messed up from all the caffeine. From there's a lot of caffeine we ingested.
What is a Wawa?
A Wawa is a gas station restaurant superstore. It's like the greatest convenience center there is on the highway. So if you had to stop on the highway, it's the place that is like the opposite of what you ever thought was on the highway. The bathrooms are clean. It's just really, really nice. It's we stopped and Mitch was like, we gotta go to the Wawas. And I was like, all right, man. I also need gas. He's like, we're gonna get it at the Wawas. I'm also hungry. We're gonna get it at the Wawas. I was like, well, I also need a Red Bull. He's like, we're gonna get it at the Wawas. And it worked out. So yeah, Todd, the water situation in Jackson has been handled, has been for a long time. We talked to community development. We got into the Department uh, of Economic Development, and we spoke to them as well, kind of see the growth path of the city, where they're going. And actually, it was really cool because Greg and Mitch were like, "This is cool. They've never done that before. Never gone in, and we literally just went straight to the top of the building, and we're like, yeah, this is what we are. This is what we're doing." They were like, happy to see us, happy to see investors investing in the city. And they were scheduling calls to sit with them, virtually. So yeah, the water situation is totally fine. In fact, people were laughing at us every time we asked, because we asked all over the place, hotel, like I said, Waffle House. And when we're asking, they were like, oh yeah, no, it's fine. Totally fine. Been fine for a long time. And I was like, I asked one, I was like, do you know anybody who lives in Jackson? And has like water issues. She's like, my sister lives in Jackson, but she had water issues, but it's solved. Like it's all been solved a long time ago. So the federal government did give the whole city $3 million to patch the problem. And so problem patched, solved. Yeah. Thumbs up to the federal government, right? Who has your money? It's the government. Let's give Todd a round of applause. Great question, brother. Thank you for looking into it also. Other questions?
So I have a
Well,
question.
Principle 7 would be good. Go ahead. Yep.
So two things. One, I'm not sure if it's still like this in the Mid-South, because um, when I lived in Memphis, I owned a quadplex and I owned a small single family house as well. And so one of the things I was able to do is I was able to work with the housing department, and they gave me 75 grand for my building, and they gave me another 25 grand for the house to rehab it, to get it up to a certain level, because the people who were living in the home, in those in the houses that I owned, were um affordable housing, right? So it wasn't Section 8 or anything like that. But they do have programs in the Mid-South. And so you may want to check into that, or have your property manager look into that, because you may be able to get grants, right? Because they give it to you as a grant. And as long as you don't sell the property for 5 years, it's all forgiven. And so, yeah, so that's something you definitely want to look into. The second point that I want to make was a question, because you stated earlier that you shouldn't live in a house or in a complex apartment that you own, because you don't get the tax benefit. But how about if you purchase the complex in in a company name? Like, because I know there's some commercial investors that do this. They will buy let's say a strip mall, right? And they will buy it in one entity, and then they would have like a doctor's office that they also own, and they would rent out the doctor's office. They will rent out a space from the entity with their doctor's office, and so that they still are able to get the tax benefits from one company while living or utilizing the company that, or utilizing the space that they are currently already own. So talk about that and try to give people context on how they can leverage that type of dynamic to their benefit.
I like that. So to the first one, the economic board said the same exact thing, Roll, and they're like, yeah, we'll set you up with all the funds, all the grants, all the different things, even some tax abatements that are available. So going in and talking to community development or the economic board is a very, very good idea for finding funding. And there are grants, especially in the South, all over the country, but especially in the South for redevelopment. And the other part is it's actually fascinating. So, one, you cannot own or occupy, as in your human body, live in a multifamily that you own in an LLC that you have a bank note on. So, no lender on the planet will ever let you live inside of a property that is owned in an LLC. So that is uh, so that's the physical body residential side of things. Now, on the business side of things, totally acceptable, right? Those are different types of loans, and they understand that a commercial business being inside of your commercial property is a benefit. A lot of times it's an anchor tenant. A lot of times that's what draws other people to the building, essentially. In fact, my brother has one of these right now where he bought a 40,000 square foot warehouse and converted it into fitting his facility, his AMP Academy, the athletic movement and parkour for kids, and also has dance studios, yoga studios, little restaurants, and shopping centers inside this big 40,000 square foot center. And what's interesting is his building cash flows almost as much as his business does. So all this extra space that he's renting out is cash flowing almost as much as his business cash flows, and his bank loves it because his business does pay rent to the building as well, the exact same square footage that all the other businesses pay. He's paying that to the company. So I believe his LLCs are like Amp Academy and then Eight Arms. So Eight Arms owns the real estate, and Amp Academy owns his business, and one pays the other. And that is a very intelligent structure. It makes a lot of sense to do it that way. But the reason a hard money also won't let you live in your building. So hard money loans and commercial loans won't let you own or occupy as a person. You can't sleep in a building that you own in an LLC if you have a loan on it. But you could put you could own or occupy a business inside a commercial property where you have the LLC. So if that makes sense. And there's reasons for doing it. Tax benefits. You do want, again, you can depreciate that part of your building. Even though you're owner occupying with your business, you can actually depreciate that part of the building because the business is paying rent to the other business. But when you live in a 3-family, you cannot depreciate 1/3 of your building. And when you go to pay taxes, when you sell the property, you still have to pay the tax, even if you lived there, but you don't have to pay taxes on 2/3. You don't pay taxes on the 1/3 that you lived in. You still got to pay taxes on the sale, the capital gains tax on the other 2/3 when you sell it. If you're familiar with you don't have to pay taxes 2 out of the last 5 years if you live in the building. So fans are familiar with that law. If you live in a single family house, you don't pay taxes when you sell the property as long as you lived in that property for 2 out of the last 5 years. Really important for house hackers, people living in the house while they're renovating it, or house flippers that are doing move-in flips. That's a great strategy for developing wealth. If you're going to live in a house and do renos for 2 years, 3 years, and then you sell the property, buy a bigger property, that strategy allows you to sell without paying any taxes. So even though I say it's not great for cash flow to live in a property that you own, it can work in the appreciation side. If you're in an appreciation market and you're selling every 2 years, you can pay no taxes. So it's another way to avoid or limit the tax game. Let's give Roland Charles a round of applause. Always great questions that get us thinking. We'll take one or two more questions or shares or strategies that you're familiar with that have worked for multifamily investors to scale up, or a big takeaway, something that you like about multifamily. I'm all about multifamily wins right now. And if there are no questions, then let me shift it back to what we've got coming up. One of the coolest holidays of the year is Christmas, and I didn't get to celebrate Christmas as a child. So growing up with Christmas, I was in a cult, something called the Worldwide Church of God. Google it one day. It's a lot of fun. We had all of the rules of the Jewish customs, all the rules of the Catholic religion, and all the rules of Christianity, except we didn't have all of the fun stuff. So no menorah, no Hanukkah, no Christmas, no birthdays, and no Easter. So the only holiday we got to celebrate that was really fun was this holiday called Passover. And this is where, basically the kids didn't die, right? If you were Jewish. And so we got to eat flatbread. So our bread was less interesting, less fun. And again, no gifts, but we did get to go on vacation. And so that was one of the things that I got to do as a child was Passover. We went on these nice little trips. So for all of you who have different, much better memories around Christmas, let me agree with you. Christmas is so much better now. It's much better when you get to spend it with your family and you're celebrating, the birth of Christ, and you're reminding each other how much you love them, and you're in a space of generosity and gift giving. And if money has been a little tight this year for you or some of your family members, because it is for somebody has had a tight time with money. And if they've given you anything, take a little extra time to appreciate those gifts, right? Because it maybe has been a little harder for them. There's a story in the Bible where the person gives like 2 pennies or 2 cents or 2 pence, whatever it was, and it was all that she had, versus these other guys were throwing in big money. Like, it's like, yeah, but that was nothing compared to what she had actually sacrificed. So for some of you, your time this weekend over this holiday may feel like a sacrifice. Some of you, the money that you've invested in gifts may feel like a sacrifice. Or other people in your family may be feeling like they're sacrificing just being there. So I think if you were to take to the highest leverage, yes, wealth principle, who has your money? Absolutely. It could be anybody in the room. But if you were to think about the leverage of how important those relationships are for you in the long term, imagine we did this exercise with our sales team yesterday. Imagine if you were at your funeral, like who would speak for you? What would they say? I would strongly suggest before going into family this weekend that you take a little bit of time to really appreciate them, to really uh, fall deep in love with yourself enough so that you can fall in love with everybody that you're going to spend time with this weekend. Christmas is, for many people, a lot of different things. But from what I understand of it, as somebody who's looked at it from the outside for a very long time and only now gets to appreciate it, I think that it's really about, appreciating the people that choose to be with you and showing them that you care about them and showing them that you really appreciate their existence. And you do it with gifts, you do it with food, you do it with quality time. And I think the acts of service, the positive affirmations, like telling each other what you love about them, doesn't happen enough around Christmas time. So if you can find a way to take the time to share with another person that you're spending time with how much you care about them, how interesting they are, how proud of them you are. This holiday is not about you. It's really not about you telling everybody what you're up to, because to be honest, they probably don't care. They really just want to tell you what they're up to. So uh, be the best person in the room. Be the one listening. Be the one creating the experience. Be the one asking what's going on in their world, and be interested. Show genuine interest. If they say it's, their football game and they're excited about it, dive into football for the day, right? Do whatever it takes to be that person who's listening, because I don't think enough people listen to each other in this world. I think that especially within your family, you can be the listener. You can be the person who remembers what's going on with everybody and shows interest. Especially, the younger they are, the more important it is for you to be a role model. The kids just want to talk about they're playing Fallout, or they're watching their shows, or they're this kid that they're talking to, or whatnot. And doesn't get old for your parents, doesn't get old for your siblings. They also just want somebody to listen to. And if you ever want to have an impact on them, as you're becoming more wealthy, as you're doing better financially, and you want them to do better financially, you want them to take your advice in real estate or in business or in investment, you might have to win them over now, because they don't quite know how knowledgeable you've become over the last few years. They don't quite know what you've been studying. So this isn't the time to win them over on that. It's just the time to win them over on liking you, because people only listen to people they know, like, and trust. So the holiday is not the time to get them to trust you. The holiday is the time to get them to like you again. Because I know if you're like me, you've been grinding, you've been working hard, you've been, maybe doing some things where you didn't spend as much time with family as you could. So it's a good chance to just listen, to get back into the relationship. Show fans you commit to doing a little listening this weekend. Awesome. And do me a favor, Darina's in Russia, so I won't be celebrating with Darina. So what I'd like to do is celebrate with you. So as you're celebrating with your family, take some pictures, take some videos, show me what Christmas is like in your life, and make sure that you post as much as you can this weekend. Let everybody know how proud of your family you are to be spending time with them. On that note, we will be doing names on deeds January 13th. I can't wait to reveal some of the strategies that are going to make you a millionaire, multimillionaire, some of your friends really rich as well. And I also know for everybody in the Recession Proof Challenge, you already know the deal. On January 1st, we're coming back. January 1st, we're going to push really hard in the RPC, 1 o'clock. If you're not a part of the challenge already, go to challenge.alchemiststation.com, or you can go to the newsletter, and it's at the bottom there. This year, 2024 is a gift. And like Doug said, this is not our last call for the year. We got one more coming up, one Saturday left. But 2024, there will never be another one. Just like there'll never be another you. So the combination of you in 2024 is going to be the most abundant, most amazing combination that is yet to come. Every year from now until 2030 is going to be an absolute ridiculous year to buy real estate. There is no such thing going forward for the next 6 years. There is no such thing as a bad year to buy real estate. If you're not buying real estate, it's on you. It's not on me, and it's not on the market. There are ways to buy right now. There are properties to buy right now. There's cash flow to buy right now. The deal I'm doing right now, I'll talk about on January 13th. I will tell you, but it looks like it's 228 units because the more I dig into the market, the more I buy. It just seems to be more and more opportunity. And I feel guilty that I'm buying almost $7 million worth of real estate that is worth almost $15 million worth of real estate. That's worth almost 15 million. I feel guilty. I feel a little bad about it. So I do want to show you how to do what I'm doing. Show of hands, it's okay if I share some of the knowledge of what we're doing? Excellent. I have no intention of doing it alone. I'd like to do it with this community. So, and on that note, cheers to your success. When you have a choice, always work with the best. I'll see you next week.
best.
Merry Christmas and happy Hanukkah and happy Kwanzaa.
And Chewbacca to you too.
That's right. Happy Chewbacca. Man, I've been watching The Mandalorian. By the way, Mary Lynn, tell Gary he's right. Fantastic show. I've been watching the whole. You seen it too, Larry?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's a great show.
Yeah, I'm in love with it. So I'll be catching up.